carried by India Today is now being probed by the Haryana Police to try and determine if there was a conspiracy angle, if this information was available in advance, if inadequate action was taken, who is to blame. So all that now part of an official probe that being announced by the Haryana Home Minister live on India Today. And with this, I take you back to the studios.
You are watching India Today.
In politics, everyone has an opinion, but I have the data. Whose stock is rising? Whose graph is falling? Track India's political stock exchange. Unmatched, unmissable data analytics. The only show on News TV where numbers do the talking. India's most credible poll tracker. The Political Stock Exchange. With Rahul Kamal, only on India Today.
Diet sodas, sugar-free tablets, artificial sweeteners. Do all of these give you a sense of assurance that you are staying away from sugar and that these are healthy alternatives? Well, it is not that simplistic as you think it is. Each of these artificial sources of sugar are unhealthy. Let us break this down for you. Diet soda is a go-to for people who love the taste of regular soda but can do without the sugar and calories. An average can of regular cola may contain a whopping 37 grams of sugar, and consuming too much sugar is linked to outcomes like obesity and poor heart health. So it makes sense that you may seek out a sugar-free alternative. But while drinking diet soda does help people reduce their sugar intake, this simple act can also expose a person to other ingredients that may be linked to some other health problems. The acidity in certain types of soda can lead to tooth erosion. Drinking excessive amounts of diet soda made with caramel coloring may result in teeth turning yellow. Some research suggests that artificially sweetened drinks are associated with a greater risk of obesity. If you opt for diet soda that contains caffeine, you may have trouble getting some much-needed shut-eye at night. Diet soda is void of calories and sugar. Certain varieties can contain phosphorus in the form of phosphoric acid. This mineral, though important, can play a positive role in bone health, but consuming copious amounts of phosphorus can negatively impact the calcium-phosphorus ratio in your body.
When the sugar increases in the blood, that means when the blood glucose increases, then it leads to many comorbidities like obesity, diabetes, fatty liver, then risk of cancer, heart attack also increases. There are mood alteration leading to irritability, then there's sleep disorder, and many more things can happen.
You are watching India Today.
A big India Today impact. Haryana government has taken note of the India Today investigation. The Haryana government has taken over the probe tapes of India Today. Haryana government is now going to be probing the lapses uncovered by India Today. It is an India Today special investigation that revealed how intelligence was ignored and policing was inadequate in Nuh, despite enough inputs about the Shobha Yatra. That was an expose done by us. It was a special investigation carried out by India Today, revealing how intelligence was indeed ignored and how the policing was inadequate despite enough inputs coming in about the Shobha Yatra. Bringing you a big India Today impact story, the Haryana government taking note of the investigation conducted by India Today. Haryana government taking over India Today probe tapes now. The government in Haryana is now going to be probing the lapses, and these are lapses, viewers, that were uncovered by the India Today Special Investigation Team. In fact, India Today Special Investigation Team also revealed how intelligence was ignored. India Today SIT revealed how policing also was inadequate. Despite enough inputs coming in about the Shobha Yatra, the intel was ignored, policing was ignored. And now the Haryana government is taking cognizance of this and they are going to be probing all the lapses that have been uncovered by India Today. Haryana government taking over India Today probe tapes. That is the latest breaking news coming in. Our sting operation, this is the proof, has been successful because what we did was we uncovered a lot of truth behind how there was enough intelligence present. We uncovered the truth about how the policing was also inadequate despite enough inputs coming in about the Shobha Yatra. Despite the prohibitory orders and internet clampdown, fresh violence erupted in Gurugram this evening. Last evening, tension gripped the state of Haryana a day after communal clashes to the trigger was a Shobha Yatra carried out by BHP Bajrang Dal through Nuh, a minority-dominated district. How did this situation even spiral this much out of control? Where was the police? India Today unmasked the villains of Haryana.
A battleground of flames. Just a short drive from the national capital. Pitched battles between two communities rocked Nuh in Haryana's Mewat region on Monday, reaching even the tech hub of Gurugram. An India Today investigation has delved into the causes behind this destructive frenzy. Our probe reveals how forewarnings about possible communal flare-ups were ignored. This is Vishwajit, the district inspector of the CID. Vishwajit is responsible for intelligence gathering across Nuh. When our investigative team met him in his office, Vishwajit claimed to have formally warned the local authorities about potential trouble during the VHP Yatra. His department's specific warnings about the VHP's annual 130 kilometers Braj Mandal Yatra passing through Muslim-dominated Nuh in the present circumstances ignored.
कल वाले जो रैली को लेकर कोई स्पेसिफिक इनपुट था आप लोगों की तरफ से?
स्पेसिफिक इनपुट था, वही ये लोग यात्रा निकालेंगे तो इनका कम्यूनल होगा कहीं कहीं।
अच्छा, ये था।
अगर ये निकलेंगे गांव के बीच से, एक तलवार लहराएंगे, फरसा लहराएंगे।
तो क्या ये पहले से इनपुट आप लोगों ने नहीं दिया?
सरकार को सब दे चुकी है।
कितने दिन?
आपको पता है टाइम हफ्ता 10 दिन पहले ही
तो हफ्ता 10 दिन पहले दे दिया।
You heard that Nuh's CID gave its assessment of potential trouble during the VHP Yatra planned at Nuh on Monday. The district's CID inspector claimed the intel inputs he shared were not acted upon by law enforcement. A notorious cow vigilante linked to the Bajrang Dal, Monu Manesar, had earlier issued video messages about him participating in the Yatra. Police did not let him attend the event on Monday. In March, India Today exposed widespread extortion rackets of Gaurakshaks in Haryana. According to Nuh's CID chief, the activities of Gaurakshak squads had already infuriated residents of Nuh. Monu Manesar, the notorious cow vigilante, was named in the FIR in connection with the killing of two men, Junaid and Nasir, from Rajasthan's Bharatpur. Their bodies found charred in a burnt vehicle in Haryana's Bhiwani district on Feb 16th. Nuh's CID chief shared his assessment that the pent-up anger over the killings could burst forth. And then came a rumor about Monu Manesar's presence, which acted as a trigger.
तो वहाँ ब्रीफ करने में उनको हैंडल करने में जो शुरुआती दौर में 60-70 जो भी हुए वो कहीं कहीं अधिकारियों ने सोचा भाई चलो ये मान जाएंगे खदेड़ देंगे उसमें ये नॉर्मल ये ले लिया उनको। हाँ फिर मोहन से नहीं आया समझा देंगे यार वो आ भी नहीं रहा था लेकिन वो मानने वाले कहाँ थे वो मोटरसाइकिल रोड फोन कर दिया वो कर दिया भाई किसी ने अफवाह फैला दी वो आ लिया मंदिर पर और यात्रा चलने वाली है। अच्छा तो हम यात्रा को रोकेंगे उनका मकसद उस रास्ते को रोक करना था। अच्छा जो मोड़ है जिससे जानी थी।
कितने टाइम लगा था बिल्डअप होने में चीज़ों को मतलब कल
बिल्कुल लग गया था 1 घंटे का तो मोटरसाइकिल रोड फोन कर दिया वो कर दिया।
कौन
ये जो यहाँ के लोकल है ना वो। अच्छा और वो बच्चे लगभग 17 साल से 21-22 साल की एज ग्रुप के थे। अच्छा उनमें बड़ा मैच्योर था नहीं।
Rioters rammed a bus into a cyber police station in Nuh, now an infamous hub of cyber crime in the country. The district's intelligence chief reckons that the ongoing crackdown on cyber criminals, in addition to activities of the cow vigilantes, had already fueled passions in Nuh.
लाटरी का काम जोलन था हरियाणा के लोगों ने किया गोरक्षों ने किया। दूसरा एक साइबर फ्रॉड का बड़ा सर्च अभियान चला था उसमें काफ़ी लोग ये दिक्कत आ रही है गो कृषि पर प्रतिबंध से दुखी हैं। अच्छा जो हमारे घरों पर रेड करे पहले हम खुले चलते थे वही चीज़ों से हो जाती तो ये सोचते कि इसी बात को हम करके ऐसा करें कि आवागमन बंद कर दें दबाव हट जाए।
Kishan Kumar, the SHO of the police station under whose jurisdiction the unrest unfolded. When probed, he claimed he received no intel from his superiors about any potential trouble from the yatra.
मतलब 100 भी पूरे नहीं थे और इतना बड़ा प्रोसेशन निकल रहा है इतना बड़ा इंतजाम होना चाहिए था। CID वालों ने कोई पेपर चिट्ठी पत्री तो भेजी होगी आप लोग? मेरे पास कोई आपके पास पत्र चिट्ठी नहीं है। कोई ये भी तो आया होगा कि भाई इतने लोग इकट्ठे हो सकते हैं आप लोगों का ये आपका इंतज़ाम कोई इंतज़ाम के बारे में मेरे लेवल पर कोई बात नहीं आपके लेवल पर इंतज़ाम का भी नहीं बताया।
अगर ये होता भाई इतना पता लग जाता है ये ऐसा हो जाएगा तो यात्रा नहीं रुक जाती यात्रा पूरी इमरजेंसी क्या कोई होती तो ऊपर लेवल पे अपने तो बोले भाई अपने सेम थोड़ा ध्यान रखना वो तो सब।
You heard Nuh Sadar's SHO admitting that police at his level received no warnings beforehand. In a separate conversation with our investigative team, Kishan Kumar explained how the available force was spread too thin across the yatra route.
लेकिन कल पुलिस बंदोबस्त इतनी कम थी
ऐसा पुलिस कम नहीं थी जो फोर्स थी वो सारी लगी हुई थी। इन्हें पहले जो हरियाणा था बंगाल और जाना था नवी से सीधा खजाना वापस जाना था नवी ना पूरा तो कवर कराना था लंबाई बढ़ गई यात्रा लंबी बढ़ गई फोर्स तो वही थी वो एक्स्ट्रा फोर्स थे नहीं वो फोर्स 10 पॉइंट बढ़ने 50 पॉइंट बढ़ने के बाद 200 पॉइंट बढ़ गई ऐसे नहीं।
Scars of yet another devastating turmoil. a grim reminder of how intel oversight, inadequate law enforcement, social media manipulation can converge into a storm of violence. A report by Mohammad Hizbullah and Nitin Jain for India Today's Special Investigation Team.
Well, that's it from me, Chaiti Narula, on this bulletin. Keep watching India Today. Coming up next is 5 Live with Shivarur.
You are watching India Today.
Do you have a sweet tooth that you just can't help? The more you consume, the more you want. And that is how sugar gets us hooked. But for those wanting to break sugar addiction, there is hope. There are ways to do it, and there are several alternatives. First of all, let's tell you all about sugar and how much you'd actually end up consuming. Adults are to consume 5 teaspoons a day. That's how much women should consume. Men should consume 9, kids not more than 3 to 4. Let's now take a look at how much we're ending up consuming. Men and women are consuming about 22 teaspoons a day. Kids are consuming 24. Cut sugar from your diet and do yourself a favor. There are several advantages of sugar reduction. It will reduce your acid reflux. It controls irritable bowel syndrome. It reduces joint pains, brings down anxiety and fatigue, also tackles migraine. How then can you bid goodbye to sugar? Make a decision to do it now. Quit cold turkey. No added sugar in anything whatsoever. Go sugarless in your drinks. Tea and coffee without sugar. Reduce starch. Go for non-starchy vegetables like mushrooms, onions, green beans. Manage your stress. Well, if you do, your cortisol levels will be in check. Hunger, cravings will be in check. Get good sleep for lesser hunger pangs and better management of cravings. Here are the foods to pick and choose from if your cravings won't leave you. Go for a piece of fruit. Berries are rich in fiber and sweet. Sugar-free gum or mint is a great way to control your sugar cravings. Yogurt is a healthy snack that is high in protein and rich in calcium. Dates are the dried fruit of the date palm tree, which are highly nutritious and very sweet.
You have come out very strongly against what has happened in the railway compartment, the cold-blooded murder of 4 people, and then what's happened in Nuh Hindu-Muslim violence. Let's get it clear. You have called the railway compartment incident a terror attack. Have you jumped the gun? Because the FIR is very clear. It says there is no communal angle. At least no communal angle is specifically mentioned in the FIR. Should one be more cautious in the times in which we live before suggesting it is a communal crime?
The reason I have called it a terror attack is because this was a man who was in uniform, and he had first assassinated or murdered his superior AS officer who belonged to the tribal Meena community. Then he went into 3 different railway compartments and identified Muslims who were having beard or wearing a cap, and then shot them dead. In fact, there is a video still available wherein this man who he shot, who's cringing in pain, who's turning from right side to left side. Subsequently, he died. Unfortunately, he's from Hyderabad, a place called Bazar Ghat. So, this man went around 3 compartments of the railways, identified Muslims with their attire or with their beard and shot them dead. And in a video, he says that is desh mein rehna hai to Yogi, Modi or Thackeray. Now, unfortunately, the government of India wanted the Twitter to remove my tweet, and unfortunately, the Twitter had succumbed to the government pressure tactics, and that tweet of mine has been removed from, it cannot be seen in India.
No, that
So
is because again these are
And
very
I
sensitive.
believe
No,
that
Mr. Owaisi, that's because these are very sensitive issues. You know, this is clearly a killing that needs investigation. No one doubts about it. It could well be a hate crime. You could be right that it could be a hate crime. The only point is, in the times in which we live, one has to be a little cautious. That's all I'm saying.
Well, Rajdeep, whatever times we live in, we have to say the truth clearly and loudly without mincing words. I will reiterate again that it was a terror attack done by a person who was radicalized and who had become extremist because of the conducive atmosphere of radicalization and extremism that has been created by the ruling party in last 9 years. And that is why we see that this man has no fear. He's standing at a dead body with his licensed weapon.
What is your own reading of the market? The last 4 months have seen a sharp rally. Have valuations gone out of sync with fundamental realities? And where do you see the markets headed and the prices that we are seeing at the current levels?
Yeah. Good afternoon. So, the issue is that the market levels will keep moving up and down depending on the earnings movement. So every 3 months, we have upgraded in the earnings. So we start with the 810 rupees EPS for Nifty on 1st April, and now we'll end up at about, say, 150, 140 rupees per share. So like that, it will end up finally at 950, 960. So markets will also keep recognizing 5-6% in a quarter or maybe 10% in a quarter. Then it will correct by 2-3% in next quarter. Then again go up by. So that's a process market keeps doing. Move up to the new high, then correct for some time. They over move, like they will overextend itself on the upside, then they'll correct, then they might overcorrect, and then again from the bottom it will move. So if you see, that's how, so market is very erratic. It is very difficult to predict the short-term movement of the market. But if you look at 4-5 years or 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, the line looks absolutely straight. So much so that if you do, say, a 40-year straight line, you'll find as if there is no change, there is no corrections at all. But we have seen 40-50% correction also from the highs. So one has to be very careful with the markets, and nobody knows the market truly that what is going to happen. But experience tells me that if the corporate earnings are growing at about 15% or so, 15-20%, so there is no reason why eventually we should not make about 15-17% in the market year on year. In fact, market has done about 13-14% for last 40 years, 35-40 years. So I think the future is even brighter. But let's not be more optimistic. Let's stay with what has happened in 40 years for the next 40 years. So I think in the longer run, we are going to do more like 12-15% compounded from.
Absolutely, Mr. Agrawal, and equity markets are for the optimists. But the worry question right now in front of investors is that, do you really feel exuberance in any of the pockets in the markets where you'd like investors to be wary of any bubble-like valuations developing, so that one can be cautious at this point?
Right now, across the market or even particular segments, see what happens is many times the whole market is up in the flames, like what we saw in 92. The whole market was nuts in the sense that the index went up by 7x in 20 months. From 700, Sensex went to 4,200 in 19-20 months. If you go back, I don't think you would have seen that chart, but that's what we lived. So, that was an extreme. I don't think anywhere in the world it would have happened. So that's what is one extreme. But so in 2000, it was all the way technology, the .com and technology, that there was a boom in that particular thing. In 2008, it was all about the financial services kind of thing, or real estate companies.
Co-powered by the new Kia Seltos, the badass reborn. Co-powered by Mamaearth Onion Shampoo, reduces hair fall naturally. Airtel Extreme Fiber.
And we have part 2 of India Today's big special investigation into the Haryana violence lined up on 5 Live this evening. It's a big investigation that for the first time takes you into the actual trigger point for the Mewat communal clashes on Delhi's doorstep. It didn't happen on the ground. In fact, it happened on social media. It happened on the internet. If you're on social media, viewer, you've possibly seen a lot of claims and counterclaims, videos by the Bajrang Dal, videos by Muslim locals in Nuh. Which is correct, which are fake, which are misinformed? We have the facts here on India Today. Suffice it to say that both sides used social medias to fan temperatures to a fever pitch. And it is only understandable that things came to this terrifying pass. I'm going to decode it for you and show you precisely how that happened. But first, as always, here on 5 Live, the headlines. The death toll in the Haryana violence mounts to 6. Chief Minister Khattar vows to make rioters pay for damage, says no information on Monu Manesar's whereabouts. Haryana FIR reveals horrific details, says riotous mob chanted pro-Pakistan slogans and fired at the police. At least 116 persons arrested so far. Top court sends notice to neighbouring Delhi and Uttar Pradesh, asks centre to ensure no hate speech at gatherings. Also orders videography of all protest rallies. But we'll show you how hate speech has been happening in Delhi and UP today. Another shot in the arm for the centre in Parliament after BJP and Jagan's YSRCP. TDP may also back Modi government on the Delhi Services Bill and no trust war. United States charges former President Trump with conspiracy to defraud the country and witness tampering in the 2020 Capitol Hill riots case. Six people have been killed so far in the Haryana communal clashes that started in Nuh on the 31st of July. But the seeds of that unrest were sowed just days before that. And India Today's investigation has revealed that the fires of hate, the fires of provocation were fanned
almost exclusively on social media platforms. We're talking about Facebook primarily. We're also talking about Instagram. If there can be two faces to what triggered the horrors in Mewat, take a close look at these two men, viewer, Bittu Bajrangi and Mohammad Samar. It was social media posts like these that raised temperatures to a terrifying degree, resulting in the eruption. Bittu Bajrangi gave the call for the mobilization, putting out videos saying, "Main Mewat aa raha hoon," and warning, "Goli pe goli chalegi." A provocative call was concealed in an invitation to the Bajrang Dal's annual Shobha Yatra in the Mewat region. The provocation triggered a response from a Muslim local in Nuh named Mohammad Samar, who instigated his followers to break limbs and then pretend that the attack was in self-defense. He too called for his followers to bring their own friends to Nuh. So both sides indulged in counter acts of provocation to raise temperatures. They organized. It was a call to arms and a call to numbers. The first seeds, however, viewer, and I want you to listen very carefully to this because this is extremely important. Take a look at this man's photo on your screen. His name is Shaikul Khan, 30 years old. The first seeds of this unrest were planted in a cyber fraud case in Faridabad just a few days ago. Tension escalated when this man, in the custody of the Faridabad police for cyber fraud, his name is Shaikul Khan, died in their custody. He had been arrested in a cybercrime case, but he passed away in custody at a hospital in Faridabad. The police claim that Shaikul Khan was ill at the time of arrest. He died on the 23rd of July. That is 1 week before the Nuh violence actually erupted. It was after the death of Shaikul Khan in custody that Bittu Bajrangi steps in. He puts out a video amplifying how Muslim locals in Nuh had put out their own videos talking about the possibility of an attack on the cybercrime police station. Now, viewer, a little bit of context for you at this point of time is that Nuh has emerged as a cybercrime epicenter in northern India. It is a place from where a number of online scams and crimes have been taking place, and a special cybercrime police station, which was in fact attacked during the course of these riots, is one of the key parts of what happened. But like I told you, the death of a Muslim man in custody on July the 23rd may have been the starting point to a chain reaction that led up to the eruption that you saw on July the 31st, just 8 days later. Ankit Kumar, who's with me live from our newsroom, who's been looking through, this absolute maze of social media posts, has put this story together for us, and you'll be seeing more of it on primetime here on India Today. Ankit, so many claims and counterclaims, so many different, sides finger pointing about who really started it. Your investigation, your story suggests that the death of Shaikul Khan on July the 23rd, in custody of the Faridabad police, may have been some kind of a starting point. It is after that this flurry of social media posts began, Ankit.
Well, Shiv, what we have done here is we have stitched together all the publicly available visual evidences in form of videos, live stream, pictures, and what we can tell is that there were at least two different groups who could be held responsible for what happened in Nuh, Mewat, and in the nearby areas. What we can pinpoint is there are at least two characters. First, Bittu Bajrangi, who was seen in Faridabad. He came out with his supporters after the alleged custodial death, and where he demanded strict actions against people from Nuh village, said they were anti-national people, they were involved in inciting crowd. The other side is again a group of people led by one certain Mohammad Samar, who since then has deleted his Instagram account. But if you see his videos, he is giving a counter call for a call to gather in force on 31st. 31st was the day when the unfortunate incident of several riots and violence took place in Nuh and nearby areas. But if you go through all the what was said in the series of 10, 12, 15, 20 videos, you could almost conclude that it was a very public countdown to a large-scale violence that was coming. It was available for anybody to see. It was open to public. It was there to see for the law enforcement agencies. The police could have seen it, and had they acted on time, this kind of violence, this level of destruction, that could have been saved.
And the fact that all these videos, these live streams, these Instagram and Facebook reels, Ankit, were happening in public. These were not private accounts. These were public accounts. Anybody could go and look at them. In fact, just before this broadcast, I was looking at some of those videos of Bittu Bajrangi and Mohammad Samar. It's impossible that this couldn't have come to the notice of cybercrime or the police. It's impossible, Ankit.
That's the big question, because these posts were going viral. If you go through the kind of the traction they have received, there are 200, 300 comments. There are people as if warning each other that they will shoot each other in the comment section. And moments before Bittu Bajrangi was supposed to reach Mewat, he did one last live stream where he said that he was at certain distance, and the language that was used by Bajrangi and the other posts that were made by the other side in the comment section, anybody could have seen that and anticipated a really kind of a devastating event. But unfortunately, that did not happen. Police did not kind of acted on it. There was some police presence, but the security presence was not to the scale to stop that kind of violence, to handle that kind of emotions that were running high. And this was brewing for past 6-7 days. It was not as if somebody said something. If you see the first statement made by the police, the superintendent of police, he said that during the course of the Shobha Yatra, some people made certain comments, and the violence started instantly. It was not an instant. It was not an
spontaneous
kind of violence. It was brewing for past 6-7 days.
Yes, a whole week of build-up, a whole week of poison on both sides, that has resulted in this terrifying clash in which 6 people have been killed. And this is only part one. This is only a small part of what Ankit has looked into. You'll see the full investigation at 8 p.m. Ankit, thank you for the moment. This is disturbing as it is. 6 people have died. The level of damage that has been inflicted is still being assessed. But July the 23rd, when a man died in police custody in Nuh, in Faridabad, all the way 8 days later to that eruption, is filled with public social media posts and streams by Mohammad Samar, by Bittu Bajrangi and others across platforms, with completely in the public eye, with many comments in those sections, in the comment section saying, goli pe goli chalegi, etc., people threatening each other, and yet preparations were not made, which leads to the disturbing question, was this negligence or was this complicity? If you go onto social media now, viewer, you will see angry voices everywhere. Even as we bring you this broadcast, I'm looking at comments by angry social media users saying, how can you call it both sides? It was only one side. And this is happening from both sides. There are both sides finger pointing at each other saying, you started it. This was not a communal clash. This was a communal attack. The fact remains that 6 people have died, and India Today continues to be the only channel naming all 6 of them. And you'll see their names here on India Today. I want to go across to India Today's Anmol Bali as well as Amit Bhardwaj, 2 fearless reporters who've been on the ground reporting overnight and through the day on this unfolding story. Anmol, coming to you quickly first, the social media aspect is something that nobody has touched upon properly yet, because there has been lack of clarity about what is real and what is fake news. Now, this India Today investigation by Ankit Bhardwaj, by Ankit Kumar, has confirmed to us that things started at least 8 days before the violence erupted, Anmol. 8 days of social media poison.
It was all building up, Shiv, as you can see on the social media. Both sides were building up. Various videos were published. Hello. Is my voice audible?
We can hear you, Anmol. Go ahead.
Yeah. Various social media posts were seen on the internet, on the various social media platforms by the both groups. They were threatening each other. A video also came from the Monu Manesar, where he said that he'll be part of the procession, where he also said he also asked his team members and other Bajrang Dal workers to become part of the procession. And from that moment, the build-up has started on the social media for the procession, and yes, the violence took place because of rumors on the social media by the both groups. Shiv.
Okay, let's bring in Amit as well, because Amit has been tracking protests that have been taking place in different parts of the national capital today, of the Bajrang Dal as well. There's Amit, he's also there, with us. Amit, the social media aspect, you've been traveling through all of these affected zones. The social media aspect of it is something that has been ignored so far, like I was discussing with both Ankit and Anmol, because of the amount of fake news and the amount of tutu meme and finger pointing that was taking place. The VHP and the Bajrang Dal point fingers at the Muslim locals of Nuh and say they are responsible. They say that the Bajrang Dal are the original provocators as far as this is concerned. But what seems to be established now is that both sides were indulging in this fanning of the fury on social media, and it was only a matter of time before it became a part of the real world.
Well, absolutely right, Shiv. The stage was set for all this that has unfolded in Nuh and now in several parts of Haryana. And I would say, and you would also recall as to how the breeding ground was created on social media, not only around this specific time zone, but also for the past several months. Remember the kind of mosque controversy that had unfolded in Gurugram, in this particular zone. So all this is stemming from the hate which has been peddled on the social media accounts, be it Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all different platforms have been used. So the stage was set, and what it was just a matter of a matchstick hitting the gunpowder which was lying there, and eventually the entire communal violence unfolded in Nuh, which later spread on in Gurugram, and now it is has affected different other parts of Haryana as well. And Shiv, it is quite interesting. In Manesar, I'm standing right now. There's a Bhishma Das Mandir right behind me, and apparently section 144 has been imposed in several parts of Haryana, including Nuh, Manesar, and several parts of Gurugram as well. But right here in this temple, you could see several of these activists from the Hindutva groups have assembled here in big numbers. So that is also a question as to how the police is allowing that to happen. And earlier in the day as well, we had seen as to how the VHP, the Bajrang Dal, the other Hindutva groups had managed to stage protests not only across the national capital, but also across India, and specifically across North India. And in fact, the national highway on Delhi-Faridabad border that was blocked. VHP's Alok Kumar had himself led the protesters there, and speaking to India Today, he had said that he had in fact hit out at MOS Rao Indrajit Singh for asking a question that as to how several people in the procession, Hindu procession, were carrying sticks and other weapons. So on the other side, you also have VHP International President Alok Kumar saying that, Rao Indrajit Singh is only looking at the sticks being carried out by the Hindu pilgrims, but he is not pointing out at the guns that were being used by the other group, that is the Muslim groups in Nuh. So clearly, the battleground that has been created in Haryana right now,
yes,
the ground for that was, the breeding ground for that was built on social media. Back to you, Shiv.
Definitely on social media. Anmol and Amit, continue to stay with me. I have a couple more questions for both of you. But before that, a quick roundup of the top developments in Haryana. It's a rapidly unfolding story, lots of developments. Here is what it's like. It's day 4 of when violence first broke out at Delhi's doorstep. This India Today investigation impact is something that I want to report to you very quickly. Viewer, Haryana's Home Minister Anil Vij has taken note of the India Today sting operation that we broke on the news yesterday, uncovering glaring lapses in Nuh and Mewat by the BJP government. The Haryana government has taken the tapes that India Today has provided it with and will be initiating a probe against the officers. Haryana's Chief Minister has vowed strict action against rioters and says accused will be made to pay for all damage caused so far. Does that mean bulldozers? We don't know. When questioned about cow vigilante Monu Manesar, Khattar claims that the hunt for Monu is on and his whereabouts are still unknown. Meanwhile, Haryana's Nuh district remains gripped by uneasy tension for the third consecutive day, and a curfew has been extended. While 41 FIRs have been registered so far, 116 persons have been arrested and 190 detained in Nuh alone. Hindu groups, the VHP and Bajrang Dal, have raised temperatures in the national capital region. Elsewhere, in the wake of the Nuh communal clashes, protesters blocked the Delhi-Haryana border in Badarpur, while protests were also held in adjoining Noida, Uttarakhand's Dehradun and Haryana's Panipat. Meanwhile, Monu Manesar, who the police claim they have no idea where he is at the epicenter of what's been taking place. The lynching accused spoke to India Today and refuted allegations that he was present at the yatra in Haryana's Nuh. Not just that, Monu also pinned the blame on Congress MLA Mamman Khan, accusing him of originally instigating all the violence that has taken place. On India Today, we don't just report the news, we are also investigating what may have happened amidst overwhelming evidence that there has been not just negligence but dereliction of duty and possibly complicity as well. This is a huge India Today impact, viewer. Less than 24 hours after India Today broadcast our special sting operation revealing the glaring lapses in the Haryana Police and Haryana government, the state's Home Minister today has told India Today that the Haryana Police will probe India Today's special investigation. Our tapes have been handed over to the government. Home Minister Vij says he has seen the India Today investigation and has asked the police to probe all the findings put forward in this sting investigation. Here's India Today's Rahul Kanwal grilling the Haryana Home Minister.
विज साहब, आपने देखा होगा हमने इंडिया टुडे पे आज तक पे एक तहकीकात दिखाई जिसमें जो स्थानीय सीआईडी है वो कह रही है कि उन्होंने प्रशासन को, पुलिस के तंत्र को 8-10 दिन पहले बताया था कि इस तरह गौरक्षक जो हैं, जो काऊ विजिलेंटेज हैं, उनकी एक ये यात्रा निकलने वाली है और उसके बारे में सावधान रहने की ज़रूरत है। सवाल आपसे जो देश पूछना चाहता है वो ये कि वहाँ पे होमगार्ड की तैनाती थी, हरियाणा होमगार्ड की तैनाती थी, लेकिन आपकी रैपिड एक्शन पुलिस फोर्स, जो आपकी सेंट्रल आर्म्ड पुलिस फोर्स है, उनकी आपने तैनाती क्यों नहीं की? इतने कम पुलिस वाले क्यों थे जब ये यात्रा वहाँ से निकल रही थी और ये वायलेंस हो रहा था?
देखिए, ऐसा है, वो ऑडियो वीडियो मैंने भी सुनी है और उसको मैंने भेज दिया है डिपार्टमेंट को उसकी जांच कराने के लिए कि क्या उसने इनपुट दी थी, कहाँ इनपुट दी थी, किसको इनपुट दी थी, वो देखना ज़रूरी है। देखिए, ये यात्रा हर साल निकलती है और वहाँ पर जो हो सकता है कि लोकल जो प्रशासन है उसको कोई सूचना दी हो और उसके मुताबिक उन्होंने उसके इंतज़ाम कर दिए हों। जहाँ तक मैंने जानकारी हासिल की है, जितनी पुलिस पिछले सालों में लगाई जाती थी उतनी ही इस बार भी वहाँ पर लगाई गई है।
नहीं, पर फिर भी आपने देखा होगा कि वहाँ पे आर्म्ड पुलिस, मेरे को जो बताया गया, जो इन्वेस्टिगेशन में निकल के आया कि 2 किलोमीटर की दूरी पे आरएएफ रैपिड एक्शन फोर्स थी, उसको तैनात नहीं किया गया। ये जो होम गार्ड्स हैं जिनके पास हथियार भी नहीं होते, वो बेचारे खड़े हुए हैं इतनी बड़ी तादाद में। आपको मालूम था कि इस तारीख को यात्रा निकलने वाली है, फिर भी तैनाती की थोड़ी कमी थी सर।
नहीं, देखिए, ये अब प्रदेश में स्थानीय स्तर पर कई कार्यक्रम होते रहते हैं, सबकी जानकारी हमारे तक नहीं आती है। तो वहाँ पर स्थानीय प्रशासन ही अपने जो इनपुट होता है उसके हिसाब से इंतजाम करते हैं, क्योंकि मामला ये इतना बड़ा हो गया तो इमीडिएटली फिर हमें पुलिस भेजनी पड़ी है। आजू बाजू के सभी जिलों से, गुड़गांव से, झज्जर से, फरीदाबाद से, रेवाड़ी से सारी पुलिस हमने फिर वहाँ पर भेजी जब ये मामला हो गया। पहले तो रूटीन जैसे जिले में आम कार्यक्रम होते रहते हैं उसी प्रकार से ये कार्यक्रम हो रहा था।
And 3 days after that violence erupted, the tension continues. Big revelations in the FIR accessed by India Today are now going to play out in this report. You'll be hearing many of these details for the first time. The police say Pakistan Zindabad slogans were raised. Bajrang Dal VHP workers took to the streets of Delhi, blocked key national highways today. But who's responsible for this deadly mess? And even more importantly, who's responsible for protests happening even today? Why are they still being allowed?
Haryana simmers. Uneasy calm in Nuh. Parts of Gurugram burn. There's no sign of normalcy in the violence-hit zone even 3 days after communal violence flared up.
अभी तक 116 लोगों को अरेस्ट किया गया है और 90 इसके अतिरिक्त और डिटेन किए गए हैं। पूछताछ करने के बाद उनके खिलाफ भी कार्रवाई जो बनेगी वो सब की जाएगी। सारा जो विषय आया है इसके पीछे किसका हाथ है, कैसे शुरू हुआ, इन सब बातों के ऊपर भी प्रोसेस चल रही है। उस सारी प्रोसेस में कोई भी दोषी है उसको बख्शा नहीं जाएगा।
India Today accessed the FIR where many stinging revelations were made. Police say there were 800 to 900 people who chanted Pakistan Zindabad slogans while marching towards the Shiv temple. It's the same temple where 2,500 people were held hostage on 31st July. Police FIR mentions that the mob marched towards the yatra with sticks and guns, and petrol bombs were even hurled at the yatra.
नूह में 41 FIR है, उसमें 116 आदमी पकड़े गए हैं। इसके अलावा नूह में अभी 90 आदमी और भी हमने डिटेन किए हैं, उनसे भी हम पूछताछ कर रहे हैं उनका क्या इन्वॉल्वमेंट है, और जो संदिग्ध पाए जाएंगे उनके खिलाफ भी जो है उन्हें अरेस्ट किया जाएगा, उनके खिलाफ कानूनी कार्रवाई की जाएगी।
पुलिसकर्मी जो शोभा यात्रा में शामिल होते हैं वो एक के बाद एक भीड़ को रोकने के लिए हवाई फायरिंग शुरू कर देते हैं, लेकिन भीड़ रुकती नहीं है। लेकिन एफआईआर में जो चौंकाने वाला खुलासा हुआ है वो खुलासा ये हुआ है कि ये जो खेत आप देख पा रहे हैं मंदिर के आसपास और ये जो पहाड़ी देख पा रहे हैं, इन पहाड़ी इलाकों से जो उपद्रवी हैं 600 से 700 के लगभग जो उपद्रवी थे वो पाकिस्तान जिंदाबाद के नारे लगाते हुए अवैध हथियारों से फायरिंग करते हैं।
The Bajrang Dal and VHP workers upped the ante against communal violence that rocked Haryana. The Hindu group stormed the streets of the national capital, blocking key national highway connecting Haryana's Faridabad with Delhi.
Right there you can see in your visuals, these are Bajrang Dal Karyakartas, Vishwa Hindu Parishad Karyakartas who have blocked the Badarpur Toll Plaza, which is the connecting point between the national capital and Faridabad of Haryana. And right there you have the Bajrang Dal Karyakartas sloganeering, holding Bhagwa flags and sitting on the road, literally blocking the lane which heads towards the national capital.
ये सब बातें बहुत समय से मीडिया में आ रही थी, सोशल मीडिया में, उसका ध्यान क्यों नहीं दिया गया मैं नहीं जानता। पुलिस की तैयारी क्यों नहीं थी, इंटेलिजेंस का फेलियर है। हमको हरियाणा की सरकार ने वचन दिया है कि जो जिम्मेवार अधिकारी हैं वो भी बख्शे नहीं जाएंगे।
Not just Delhi, the Hindu group workers staged massive protests in Haryana's Panipat, Uttarakhand's Dehradun, and adjoining Noida was put on high alert. 6 people were killed in the violence that nobody foresaw. But who's at fault? Bureau Report, India Today.
The lives of innocent bystanders, people who were in the crossfire, people who were part of the procession, snuffed out by the hate and the communal violence that gripped Delhi suburbs of Gurugram and Nuh in the Mewat region of Haryana. Take a look at this report, and these are the 6 faces. And things are still so raw and still so new that we don't even have pictures of the victim number 6. But take a look at these faces, because these are the people who've lost their lives. Guru Sevak Singh is victim number 1. He was a home guard. Neeraj Kumar was also a home guard. Abhishek Rajput was part of that procession. Shakti Singh was a shopkeeper. He was also there. Maulana Hafiz Saad was the Imam of a mosque in Gurugram, which was attacked. He was also killed on the same night as the no violence breaking out. And then you have victim number 6, who hasn't been identified yet, and his picture isn't out. These are the faces of who has truly paid with their lives for what happened. Take a look at this report.
Shooting, stone pelting, arson, vandalism. The mindless violence that gripped Nuh and Gurugram on the suburbs of the national capital for 2 days took 6 lives. Among the victims are both communities. Bajrang Dal worker Abhishek Rajput was allegedly shot dead. His throat was allegedly slit with a sharp weapon.
ऐसी चीज तो देखो होनी नहीं चाहिए थी बिल्कुल भी। बाकी जैसी घटना हुई सरकार जांच करेगी इसके खिलाफ, अन्याय चाहिए जी।
इंसाफ चाहिए ना, जैसे मारा गया ऐसे उनको फांसी दो, उसे मारो।
बहुत अच्छा लड़का था, किस चीज़ का नहीं था, बहुत अच्छा था, परिवार में अकेला था। और हमने न्याय चाहिए, जांच चाहिए, सख्त कार्रवाई चाहिए, सख्त चाहिए।
Among the mourners standing by the victim's family was Abhishek's partner and best friend Mohsin, a Muslim.
5-6 साल थे, साथ में थे जी। वैसे कोई वो नहीं है, फर्क नहीं समझा मड़ा भी उसने मैंने भी। बस मेरे भाई ने न्याय दिलाया, बस मेरे तो यही वो है जी बस।
Muhammad Hafiz Saad, the Naib Imam of the Anjuman Jama Masjid in Gurugram, posted this song on social media calling for communal harmony. On Monday night, he was killed by a riotous mob that targeted the masjid.
हमारा और एक के बीच में जो है इस तरीके का हादसा हुआ और हमारे बच्चे को जो है वहाँ चाकू और गोलियों से जो है भून दिया और मेरा वही एक जरिया था, वही एक सहारा था।
With families and loved ones of the victims of the communal clashes mourn their loss, we the citizens have a duty. We need to rise above hate. Bureau Report, India Today.
And coming up after this very short break, the violence that has been triggered in Haryana. We decode the Monu Manesar factor next. Where is Monu Manesar? If he is such an integral part of what happened, why hasn't he been hunted down just yet? That's next.
India today is at ground zero in Torbang, and the situation is so vulnerable. Simultaneously, there is accusation of using sophisticated weapons, but these young boys risking their lives and using these single barrel gun and double barrel gun.
We love our land and our village, that's why we sacrifice our life.
No one could ever imagine that in a state, in the same country, in the same district, we will ever see such situation which has become a battlefield. And I could say this is a war zone in Manipur.
Grounded in journalism, on the ground reporting, only on India Today TV.
On this investigation, which shows that the local administration and the police had been forewarned that there was this yatra passing through communally sensitive areas. that security needed to be beefed up, and yet for some inexplicable reason, the inputs which were available were not acted on. People with weapons, sticks, throwing stones were allowed to take out this yatra, and mayhem broke out in Mewat. As someone who comes from the state, what do you think really went wrong, Mr. Surjewala?
I have been repeatedly saying that the violence in Nuh Manesar and Gurugram is actually state manufactured. It is failure of political leadership of Chief Minister Mr. Manohar Lal Khattar. Three things stand out. Number one, there was a LIU report, that is intelligence report, saying such an incident is bound to happen. Number two, the infamous goon Monu Manesar was a part thereof. Any sensible government would have either arrested him in anticipation of violence or at least would not have permitted him to participate here. Number three, the superintendent of police of Nuh was on leave. When you knew such a sensitive thing was happening, you had a report that violence will take place, you did not even call the rapid action force, which is situated only 2 kilometers away. That means in order to gain political mileage, the BJP, JJP government was actually permitting this violence to happen. And Rahulji, may I point out to you, we know that over 100 people died in the Arakshan agitation when the caste war happened in Haryana under the watch of Mr. Manohar Lal Khattar. He turned out to be a political beneficiary of the same in the last assembly election. Now, for the first time in 75 years history of India, a communal flare-up is happening in Haryana, something that is alien to Haryana. We are peace living, we have cohabitated with the Mewat people, there have never been any clashes. In fact, in the pre-partition day, Haryana portion was the only portion of India when, despite there being overwhelming Muslim population, there was never a communal clash.
Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Amplify your brand with 100 million smart internet viewers. To advertise, mail us at sales@aajtak.com.
Annyeonghaseyo from Seoul, Korea. Hello and welcome to Tech Today. I'm your host Ayush Alavadi and we're coming to you from Seoul at Samsung Galaxy Unpacked. And it's time to unpack. Of course, it's that time of the year again when Samsung reveals their ecosystem with two flagship devices which are in my hand right now. The Flip 5 and the Fold 5. Now, usually the headline grabber happens to be the Fold 5, and this one sort of, well, comes in and hides in between all the details. But let's give it its due importance this time because there's monumental changes with this device. Incremental here because the Fold was already a top dollar premium flagship. Yes, it had a great camera, the camera kept getting better, so there's incremental innovations. For example, better peak brightness. One major change is when you open and close the hinge, it's a lot smoother. These colors look nice as well. The camera has features from the S23 Ultra. That's because now it has a Snapdragon 8 Gen 2. So it comes with those capabilities which are in its flagship S23 Ultra, which will change come, well, February when the next S24 Ultra comes in. But for now, this can take on perhaps the iPhone 14 Pro Max from the Android world. And yes, guess what? It folds. It has a bunch of other features as well, of course, with Snapdragon 8 Gen 2. And yes, a better camera, the display is a little better, and the phone looks good. Honestly, a small iteration or a change from the previous Fold. But this time, they mean business with the Flip. Look, we were talking about it last week on Tech Today, how we've seen the evolution of flip phones in 2023. First came the Flip 4 with just a minimal notification, some selective widgets, and you didn't have that much functionality on the external cover display. But then came the Oppo Flip, which we got you live from the launch event in London. And after that came the Moto Razr 40 Ultra a couple of weeks ago, which has the biggest external display you've seen on a flip phone ever. Now, Samsung has really caught up, but it's not only about the size of the external display, it's also the functionality of this particular display. You can do a lot more things on it. You get a bunch of widgets as well, and it's a very smooth, intuitive UI. If you can actually use a flip device from this external cover display without even opening a flip device, it becomes a utilitarian, pragmatic option for you. So you're going to get the full review on Tech Today, but there's other devices launched as well. There is, of course, the S9 series, the tablet, very smooth 120Hz displays. I really think this is Samsung really taking the fight to Apple. They come with water and dust resistance, so does the S Pen. And we've had, well, an interesting first impression of this device, but again, we'll have to bring you a lot more once we have this, not here in Korea, but back in the Tech Today studios in Mumbai. But flagship specs ready to take on the iPad Airs and the iPad Pros.
If the trigger point for what happened in Haryana can be boiled down to two faces, then it would be the faces of two men, namely Bittu Bajrangi and Mohammad Samar. Both people on two sides of a communal divide that has resulted in the deaths of 6 people so far in the communal clashes that started on the 31st of July. But the seeds of unrest were sowed days before, at least 8 days before the eruption. And India Today's investigation has revealed that the fires of hate were fanned very much on social media. If there can be two faces to what triggered the horrors in Mewat, take a close look at these two men that we have on your screens right now. Bittu Bajrangi and Mohammad Samar. It was their social media posts that raised temperatures to a terrifying degree, resulting in this eruption. Each side says it was the other side that provoked first. There are some that say the other side didn't provoke at all. But Bittu Bajrangi gave a call for mobilization, putting out videos saying, "Main Mewat aa raha hoon," and warning goli pe goli chalegi. A provocative call was concealed in an invitation to the Bajrang Dal's annual Shobha Yatra through Mewat. The provocation triggered a response from a Muslim local, Mohammad Samar in Nuh, who instigated his followers to break limbs and then pretend that the attack was in self-defense. He too called for his followers to bring their friends to Nuh. The first seeds were planted in a cyber fraud case in Faridabad, however, a few days before the tension. It was this man, the death of Shaikul Khan, 30 years old, on the 23rd of July in Faridabad police custody that actually set off a chain reaction of social media posts that resulted and erupted on the 31st of July, 8 days later. Remember, Nuh has emerged as a massive epicenter for cybercrime and online scams, and the death of a man in custody, a Muslim man in custody, is now believed to be the one key trigger point that resulted in a chain of social media posts, each one more provocative than the other, both from either side, fanning temperatures, fanning flames, raising the fever pitch of anger and poison to such a level that things reached ahead on the 31st of July. During that Shobha Yatra, stones were pelted and 6 people have died between Nuh and Gurugram. But this is to tell you, viewer, that it all started on social media. Joining me live now to go through some of the findings of this and get their views on it, Vishnu Gupta is National President of the Hindu Sena. Saira Shah Halim is a well-known activist. Welcome to you both. Thank you for being with us. Saira, I'd like to come to you first. You've seen a part of our investigation, and we'll be playing out more of it in the in the hours ahead. We'll also have more information about the social media posts, but it looks very much like this was far from being a spontaneous attack. It was far from being one-sided. It was something that was aggravated through social media, through provocative social media posts, for over 8 days before it erupted on the 31st of July. Saira.
Right. Yes, Shiv. So one thing I'd like to make it very clear, even if it started off on social media, isn't it the job of the authorities to quell tempers? Isn't it the job of the authorities to take actions against any particular person, or be it a group, be it a political group or a fringe group, to stop it, to ban and to ensure that these things don't happen? But then, the role of the authorities is in question here, because why did this issue escalate? That it has become a full-fledged riot. More than 6 people have died, including 2 police personnel. A mosque has been torched. There's been a complete backlash. You look at various areas. Section 144 has been imposed. Delhi is tense. Gurugram is tense. Whole of that Delhi, Gurgaon, Haryana belt is tense. So for a social media post, so here we need to understand that it might have started, the trigger point might have been 2 individuals. But what has the government done? What has the police establishment done? What are the enforcement agencies doing? Why did they let an incident on social media? Why did they allow it to flare up? That became a communal outburst, that became a religious riot. So I think here the authorities need to be pulled up. They need to be asked some very tough questions, because
and let me tell you that India Today is the only channel asking those tough questions to the Haryana government. We've just grilled the Home Minister as well. I'll come to the part of accountability of the Haryana government and the police, which is very important, in just a moment. I want to focus for the moment right now on what we found in these social media posts. Vishnu Gupta, आपका क्या कहना है इस पर? जो सोशल मीडिया में जो चल रहा था एक हफ्ते के लिए, जुलाई 23rd को लेकर जुलाई 31st तक, विष्णु गुप्ता, काफी सोशल मीडिया पे भड़काऊ चीज चल रही थी दोनों साइड से। दोनों साइड बोल रहे हैं कि एक ही साइड से चल रहा था, लेकिन अगर हम ये फेसबुक के स्ट्रीम्स देखेंगे, इंस्टाग्राम के स्ट्रीम्स देखेंगे, विष्णु जी, ये तो साबित होता है कि दोनों साइड से काफी प्रोवोकेटिव चीज बोले जा रहे थे।
जी, ऐसा है, दोनों साइड से ऐसा जब काम चल रहा था, और वहाँ की लोकल पुलिस और जितने भी विभाग होते हैं पुलिस के, वो सभी लोगों ने उस पर नजर रखी। पुलिस को उस समय भी उस पर कार्रवाई करनी चाहिए थी, क्योंकि भड़काऊ भाषण या भड़काऊ बयानबाजी कहीं से भी होती है तो वो आगे भविष्य में चल के नुकसानदायक होती है। वही भड़काऊ भाषण, भड़काऊ बयानबाजी आगे दंगे में तब्दील होगी। और मैं मेवात की हिस्ट्री में बताना चाहता हूँ, जो लोग दूर दराज के हैं, जो मेवात को नहीं जानते हैं, मैं बताना चाहता हूँ, मेवात आतंकवाद का गढ़ बन चुका है, और दिल्ली और एनसीआर में अपराध का गढ़ है। जितने भी बड़े अपराध और अपराधी और जितने भी बड़े कांड टाइप जो होते हैं वो सब के तार मेवात के यहाँ से जुड़े होते हैं और वहां कोई भी पुलिस आसानी से वहां कार्रवाई भी नहीं कर सकती। इसलिए दिल्ली के भी कुछ छोटे मोटे केस और छोटा मोटा जितना भी फ्रॉड होता है वो मेवात से ही होता है, वहां पुलिस जाते हुए भी डरती है। इसीलिए ये जो दंगा हुआ है इसमें लोकल पुलिस का बिल्कुल फेलियर है और मैंने इसीलिए माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी को पत्र भेजा है आज और कहा है एसपी और डीएम और वहां के डीसी को बर्खास्त किया जाए तत्काल, ये मैंने मांग की है। और मैं मानता हूं यहाँ पे लोकल प्रशासन की बहुत बड़ी फेलियर है, बहुत बड़ी फेलियर है। और भड़काऊ बयानबाजी यदि कहीं से भी हो रही थी जो आप दिखा रहे हो, अभी भी मैं मीडिया में देख रहा हूं, लेकिन पुलिस ने समय रहते हुए कार्रवाई क्यों नहीं की, क्यों नहीं उन लोगों को अरेस्ट किया गया। और जहां तक मोनू मानेसर का सवाल है, मोनू का एक वीडियो सामने आया है, मोनू ने कहीं भी उसमें भड़काऊ बयानबाजी बोली है तो मुझे एक भी छोटी सी क्लिप आप मुझे दिखा दो जिसमें मोनू ये बोल रहा है कि हम मुसलमानों को धमकी दे रहा है या कहीं और दंगा करने की बात कर रहा है। भाई दंगा करने की बात और धमकी देने की बात सिर्फ वहां दूसरे पक्ष की ओर से आ रही है, जिन्होंने मेवात को गढ़ बना दिया है जिहाद का, उनके खिलाफ कानून सख्त कार्रवाई करने में नाकाम रहा है।
लेकिन अगर आप बिट्टू बजरंगी के वीडियोस देखेंगे विष्णु जी, उसमें भी काफी भड़काऊ बयान तो है ही। बिट्टू बजरंगी जो है बजरंग दल के,
सुनिए भड़काऊ बयान है तो मैं यह कहना चाहता हूँ, भड़काऊ बयान है तो उस समय रहते हुए कार्रवाई क्यों नहीं की गई।
हाँ बिल्कुल,
कानून के हिसाब से
इस पे मैं सहमत हूँ, इस पे मैं सहमत हूँ। सायरा
मुसलमान हो,
Saira, Vishnu Gupta says exactly what you said, which is that if all these videos were happening, there should have been some kind of crackdown on these people, whether it was Mohammad Samar, whether it was Bittu Bajrangi or whoever it is. So the question arises, as far as the Haryana police or government is concerned, whether this was negligence or complicity. It's a reasonable doubt to have now.
Absolutely. Now, another thing, forget about who put what on social media. Take the irresponsibility of our political leaders. Look at the Haryana Home Minister, Anil Vij. He is giving such blatant, misleading statements that 3,000, 4,000 people were held hostage by Muslim rioters in a temple, at the Nalha Mahadev temple, when the priests clearly refuted that claim. And here, people outside, a police station are making inflammatory comments and telling them to boycott a particular community. So now, when these self-proclaimed religious leaders or people of a political party, be it, positions of authority like the Home Minister, CM, or whoever it might be, if you're giving misleading statements which gets refuted, this will further add fuel to the fire. Then you've seen how these incidents figure off, and vehicles were torched. There were incidents of shops that were vandalized, that were burned down, and it's all it happened in the vicinity of Haryana, Delhi, Gurugram, and all these adjoining areas. No, I mean, look at even the posh colonies. Even they are tense. The cops have to double up their role because
Saira, what about what Vishnu Gupta just talked about, which is about how Nuh has become an epicenter for cybercrime and online scams. That is something that is also difficult to ignore, क्योंकि इस दंगे में one police station, a cybercrime police station, has been destroyed by rioters. We now see that, the possible trigger point for this entire violence was on July the 23rd, possibly, when a Muslim man died in police custody in Faridabad, on cyber fraud charges. So, that part of it also cannot be ignored. What Vishnu Gupta is saying is that this entire place has become a huge epicenter of cybercrime and no action has been taken.
See, cybercrime is a separate issue. Definitely it requires
that it deserves. However, we need to also look at these sporadic attacks that are happening across India. Look at what happened at the Rajasthan Express.
पुलिस को निशाना क्यों बनाया गया?
Railway constable has shot down 4 people in broad daylight. So we cannot segregate this incident or that incident. Let me be very clear that the marginalized communities, the minorities communities are being attacked, and it's very convenient for political gains, and it's very convenient to blame it on them. Whereas it might have been a trigger point. There might be 2 people putting up political posts or incendiary posts on social media. Why didn't these posts get checked? Why didn't the
I agree with that.
take strict action? Because that was the trigger point, and the issue got escalated. And there's so many people that are affected. There are 6 people who have died in these religious riots in Haryana. There have been 4 people who died on the Jaipur Express train. Manipur is burning. I mean, now seriously, heads need to roll. It's
Vishnu Gupta
more
ji,
than enough.
जी
बोलिए, आप क्या बोलेंगे इस पर?
ऐसा है, सेपरेट इशू नहीं है। मैं यहाँ ये कहना चाहता हूँ कि जितने भी गलत काम हो रहे हैं, जितना भी क्राइम हो रहा है, वो सब मेवात से हो रहा है। मेवात से उसके साथ जुड़े होते हैं। जितनी भी गाड़ियां चोरी होती हैं, जितने भी आतंकवाद में भी आप देखोगे, बहुत सारे स्पेशल सेल के भी लोग वहां जाके कार्रवाई नहीं कर पाते हैं। ये बहुत दुर्भाग्य, क्योंकि मेवात जो है उनका गढ़ बन चुका है, और मेवात में गढ़ बनने के बाद वो ये सोचते हैं कि वहां के हिंदू, बहुत सारी घटनाएं आपने देखा होगा, हिंदू वहां के मुसलमानों से दब के रहे, वहां अपनी शोभा यात्रा ना निकालें। भाई क्यों ना निकालें? हिंदुस्तान है, वो पाकिस्तान थोड़ी नहीं है, ठीक है? तो वहां शोभा यात्रा निकल रही थी, तो उसमें दिक्कत क्या थी? और इसीलिए मैं ये भी कहना चाहता हूँ, शोभा यात्रा को सफलता पूर्वक से निकालने की जिम्मेदारी वहां के लोकल पुलिस प्रशासन की थी, जो वहां फेलियर हो चुका है। उनकी जिम्मेदारी बनती थी कि यात्रा को सफलता पूर्वक सफल बनाएं।
I want to say that the one thing the 3 of us agree on, and Vishnu and Saira, thank you for being with me, is that the person in the dock is Haryana's Chief Minister ML Khattar, the police chief, the local police in Nuh in the Mewat region, because there has been an absolutely criminal dereliction of duty. If all of these social media posts were known, as we've revealed for the first time here on India Today, why was no action taken? Each of these people were easily identifiable. Their addresses would have been known easily to the police. This could have been avoided. 6 people could have been saved. And who knows how much damage, it's still being assessed. That's how bad it really is. Who's going to pay for all that damage now is the big question. Why didn't the Haryana police act earlier? We will continue to ask that question. Thanks for watching this edition of 5 Live. I'll see you at the same time tomorrow. 6 p.m. with Akshita comes up next. The Haryana FIRs tell a truly horrifying story. Much more horrifying than what you've seen so far. Akshita brings that to you next.
Is on a roll in India. The Taiwanese contract manufacturer, the biggest in the world, seems intent on making India its second manufacturing hub outside of China. Fresh from inking an MOU worth 1600 crore rupees with Tamil Nadu for a factory to manufacture mobile phone components in the state, Foxconn is now looking at driving into India with plans to manufacture a low-cost electric vehicle. According to a report, Foxconn EV Platform Unit, Mobility in Harmony or MIH is looking at partners to build its new 3-seater EV priced below the $20,000 mark. The vehicle will be tailor-made for a corporate delivery fleet. MIH has been in talks with convenience stores, car rental companies and courier companies ahead of unveiling its first prototype EV at Japan's largest auto trade show in October. Foxconn is reportedly considering India and Thailand for production sites. MIH plans to start production of the 3-seat EV about 18 to 24 months after the prototype is unveiled in October. A 6-seat EV is scheduled to follow in 2024 and 9-seat model in 2025. According to Jack Cheng, CEO of MIH, India will be crucial to the company's longer-term growth, calling India a potential emerging power of the next generation in the EV sector. A sentiment echoed last week by the CEO of the parent company at Semicon 2023.
Building an ecosystem for chips in India is for the very brave. Every experience only positions companies stronger going forward. Where there is a will, there is a way. I can feel the determination of the Indian government. I'm very optimistic of where it will be headed. Prime Minister Modi once mentioned to me that IT stands for India and Taiwan. Honorable Prime Minister, Taiwan is and will be your most trusted and reliable partner.
The reports of Foxconn EV plans come just days after Elon Musk-owned Tesla indicated that India may be the hub of its EV supply in APAC and Africa regions. Business Today TV had earlier broken the news that Tesla was also looking at manufacturing a $20,000 electric car in India, the cheapest in its portfolio. Bureau Report, Business Today Television.
Weather forecast now. Delhi, maximum 39 and minimum 29 degrees. Mumbai, maximum 30 and minimum 26 degrees. Kolkata, maximum 31 and minimum 26 degrees. Bangalore, maximum 28 and minimum 20 degrees. Chennai, maximum 36 and minimum 28 degrees. Hyderabad, maximum 29 and minimum 23 degrees.
LIC हर पल आपके साथ।
Communal flashpoint at Delhi's doorstep. Amidst the flames and rioting. India Today reporters fearless on ground.
एक्सक्लूसिव विजुअल कि कैसे पत्थरबाजी इस समय यहाँ चल रही है, माहौल पूरा तनावपूर्ण हो चुका है।
Facts, questions and first-hand reports.
The charred vehicles that lie testimony to the kind of attack. Amount of arsoning that happened is proved from the visual that you right now see.
100% accuracy amidst the blaze.
Police officers are combing in the area and that is why the situation is under control.
We track the face of every story.
इन तमाम गाड़ियों को आग के हवाले कर दिया गया है। ग्राउंड जीरो से हम आपको ये रिपोर्ट दिखा रहे हैं।
This is the kind of situation you see on the ground in Gurugram.
India Today, India United.
Good evening. You're joining us live here on 6 p.m. Prime on India Today. I'm Akshita Nandagopal, and this evening we're putting the focus on what's happened in Haryana, what played out on July 31st and August 1st. We've gone through the entire details mentioned in the FIR based on the complaints of two witnesses, two policemen who were there at the spot, who were there to provide security for the yatra. So we'll tell you details of what's mentioned in the FIR and thereby try to answer questions of exactly who started the riot, of exactly who instigated the violence. First, as always, let's begin with the headlines. Death toll mounts to 6 in Haryana riots case. Chief Minister Manohar Lal Khattar vows to make rioters pay for damages, says no information on cow vigilante Manu Manesar's whereabouts. Haryana FIR reveals shocking details, says rioters mob chanted pro-Pakistani slogans and fired at cops. At least 116 people arrested so far. Mega India Today investigation impact. Haryana Home Minister Anil Vij tells India Today that Haryana Police will probe a special investigation which revealed lapses in Nuh. Another shot in the arm for the centre in Parliament after BJP and YSRCP. TDP may back Modi government on Delhi Services Bill and the No Trust motion. Congress leader Rahul Gandhi counters Purnesh Modi on 2019 defamation cases. Process of law being abused to arm twist Rahul into an apology. And the United States charges former President Donald Trump with conspiracy to fraud the country and witness tampering in 2020 Capitol Hill riots case. Let's begin with breaking news that's coming in of Rahul Gandhi's rejoinder in the Supreme Court on Purnesh Modi's affidavit. This is in the defamation case that he faces, and Rahul Gandhi, in a rather aggressive response, has lashed out at Purnesh Modi, the one who filed that complaint first up against Rahul. After Purnesh Modi called Rahul Gandhi arrogant and a habitual offender, Rahul Gandhi has hit back in his rejoinder, saying that this kind of a comment, calling him arrogant, is nothing but slanderous. He also claimed that the process of law is being abused and that there are attempts right now to arm twist him into an apology. And with that rejoinder, it's clear that Rahul Gandhi has made it amply clear that he will not apologize at this stage as well, despite facing all of these legal hurdles in this case and even being disqualified as a member of parliament. Srishti Oja is joining us with more details on this. Srishti, good evening. Can you give us some of the highlights, details of what Rahul Gandhi really has said in his rejoinder?
Well, yes, Akshita, like you said, as we know, Rahul Gandhi has moved the top court of the country seeking a stay on his conviction in the defamation case. Responding to that plea, the original complainant in the matter, Purnesh Modi, had filed a reply where he had called Rahul Gandhi arrogant. Now Rahul Gandhi has filed another affidavit before the Supreme Court countering the submissions that were made by Purnesh Modi, and he's clearly stated that Purnesh Modi calling him arrogant is completely slanderous, especially because Rahul Gandhi has refused to apologize in this particular matter. Such slanderous terms cannot be used against him. What Rahul Gandhi has also said is that the complainant here, being Purnesh Modi, is in a way trying to arm twist Rahul Gandhi into apologizing. And if the same is being done, then that is a gross abuse of judicial process and should not be tolerated by the Supreme Court at all. He's also said that he's not a previous convict, and therefore he has an excellent chance of success before the Supreme Court for various reasons. One being that he has an exceptional case because the offence is a trivial offence and irreparable harm will be caused to him because he was an elected member of the parliament and then had to face disqualification. And the court will hear Rahul Gandhi's plea on 4th of August, which is when we'll know if any relief is expected for Rahul Gandhi.
So 2 days from now, 2 days from now is when that hearing will happen. But Srishti giving us details, and looks like from that rejoinder, Rahul Gandhi is sticking to the same legal strategy here of referring to the kind of punishment that's been granted to him and saying that, look, I am not someone with a criminal record. Purnesh Modi, the petitioner, however, has said that Rahul Gandhi is a habitual offender of making these kind of defamatory comments. And here on India Today, as we get your details of the latest ground reports on the situation in parts adjoining the national capital, in parts of Gurugram, on violence, on the aftermath of the tension that we've witnessed, we're also putting the focus on the FIR, the investigation that's underway to identify exactly what started this violence. Let me round you up on all the updates that have come in so far. India Today's open source investigation has revealed that the fire of hate was being fanned on social media. Bittu Bajrangi and Mohammed Samar. It was their social media posts, both of whose images you see on your screens, that raised temperatures to this terrifying degree. 6 people died as a result of their incendiary posts. Haryana Home Minister Anil Vij has taken note of India Today's sting operation that we aired last night that uncovered glaring lapses in Nuh by the BJP government. The Haryana government has taken over India Today's sting operation tapes and will initiate a probe into the clear lapses. Haryana Chief Minister Manohar Lal Khattar has vowed strict action against rioters and says the accused will be made to pay for all the damages caused so far. But also when questioned about cow vigilante Monu Manesar, Khattar claims that the hunt for Monu is underway, but his whereabouts currently are unknown. What is the situation in Haryana's Nuh, which was gripped by all of this violence? At this point, there's still an uneasy tension for the third consecutive day. Curfew, therefore, has been extended. 41 FIRs have been registered so far. 116 people arrested, 190 detained in Nuh district alone. Cow vigilante Monu Manesar is at the epicenter of this violence in Haryana, as there have been allegations against him of instigating it. Remember that this is a man who's accused in a lynching case. He's spoken to India Today and refuted allegations that he was present at the yatra in Haryana's Nuh. Monu has instead pinned the blame on a Congress MLA, accusing him of instigating the violence. At this point, he remains absconding. So let's now put the focus on the FIR, because that's really revealed what played out, what led to this kind of unprecedented violence in the streets of Haryana. Now, according to the police and according to the FIR, slogans like Pakistan Zindabad were being raised. Remember that we've had, in fact, during that yatra, according to the FIR, stone pelting, arson, vandalism, and multiple incidents of police officials also being targeted. Now, as a result of all that we witnessed and the investigation taking place, Bajrang Dal and VHP workers took to the streets of Delhi and adjoining areas, blocking key national highways as well. So even as these protests, the politics continues, we ask one question, and it's the only question that really matters. Who's responsible right now for this deadly mess? Who's responsible for the death of 6 people?
Haryana simmers. Uneasy calm in Nuh. Parts of Gurugram burn. There's no sign of normalcy in the violence-hit zone, even 3 days after communal violence flared up.
अभी तक 116 लोगों को अरेस्ट किया गया है और 90 इसके अतिरिक्त और डिटेन किए गए हैं। पूछताछ करने के बाद उनके खिलाफ भी कार्रवाई जो बनेगी वो सब की जाएगी। सारा जो विषय आया है, इसके पीछे किसका हाथ है, कैसे शुरू हुआ, इन सब बातों के ऊपर भी प्रोसेस चल रही है। उस सारी प्रोसेस में कोई भी दोषी है उसको बख्शा नहीं जाएगा।
India Today accessed the FIR, where many stinging revelations were made. Police say there were 800 to 900 people who chanted Pakistan Zindabad slogans while marching towards the Shiv temple. It's the same temple where 2,500 people were held hostage on 31st July. Police FIR mentions that the mob marched towards the yatra with sticks and guns, and petrol bombs were even hurled at the yatra.
नूह में 41 FIR है, उसमें 116 आदमी पकड़े गए हैं। इसके अलावा नूह में अभी 90 आदमी और भी हमने डिटेन किए हैं, उनसे भी हम पूछताछ कर रहे हैं उनका क्या इन्वॉल्वमेंट है, और जो संलिप्त पाए जाएंगे उनके खिलाफ भी जो है उन्हें अरेस्ट किया जाएगा, उनके खिलाफ कानूनी कार्रवाई की जाएगी।
पुलिसकर्मी जो शोभा यात्रा में शामिल होते हैं वो एक के बाद एक भीड़ को रोकने के लिए हवाई फायरिंग शुरू कर देते हैं, लेकिन भीड़ रुकती नहीं है। लेकिन एफआईआर में जो चौंकाने वाला खुलासा हुआ है, वो खुलासा ये हुआ है कि ये जो खेत आप देख पा रहे हैं मंदिर के आसपास, और ये जो पहाड़ी देख पा रहे हैं, इन पहाड़ी इलाकों से जो उपद्रवी हैं, 600 से 700 के लगभग जो उपद्रवी थे, वो पाकिस्तान जिंदाबाद के नारे लगाते हुए अवैध हथियारों से फायरिंग करते हैं।
The Bajrang Dal and VHP workers upped the ante against communal violence that rocked Haryana. The Hindu group stormed the streets of the national capital, blocking key national highway connecting Haryana's Faridabad with Delhi.
Right there you can see in your visuals, these are Bajrang Dal Karyakartas, Vishwa Hindu Parishad Karyakartas who have blocked the Badarpur Toll Plaza, which is the connecting point between the national capital and Faridabad of Haryana. And right there you have the Bajrang Dal Karyakartas sloganeering, holding Bhagwa flags and sitting on the road, literally blocking the lane which heads towards the national capital.
ये सब बातें बहुत समय से मीडिया में आ रही थी, सोशल मीडिया में। उसका ध्यान क्यों नहीं दिया गया मैं नहीं जानता। पुलिस की तैयारी क्यों नहीं थी, इंटेलिजेंस का फेलियर है। हमको हरियाणा की सरकार ने वचन दिया है कि जो जिम्मेवार अधिकारी हैं वो भी बख्शे नहीं जाएंगे।
Not just Delhi, the Hindu group workers staged massive protests in Haryana's Panipat, Uttarakhand's Dehradun, and adjoining Noida was put on high alert. 6 people were killed in the violence that nobody foresaw. But who's at fault? Bureau Report, India Today.
Let's take this across to our reporters on the ground. Shreya Chatterjee is joining us live from Nuh. We've also got Amit Bharadwaj getting us latest updates from Manesar. Both of them have been on the ground for the last 48 hours, getting you every single update that you currently see on your screens. Shreya, I'd like to begin with you. Good evening. You're joining us from Nuh, where 2 days back things were extremely tense. And even today, I see behind you the prohibitory orders are still in place, which means that there's no sense of normalcy really that's still crept in.
Well, absolutely so, Akshita. There is no sense of normalcy at present in Nuh, despite the district collector actually suggesting for ease-off period, which was given between the 3 and 5 p.m. People could have opened shops, but we were here at Nuh. There was absolutely no sign of normalcy. People are not coming out from their residences. There is a sense of uneasiness that still prevails. We've seen RAF on the ground. There is riot control vehicles that are moving around. Area domination is still continuing. Remember, right now, the reason it is also a little uneasy is because the arrests have started happening. Till yesterday, the police was also trying to get off the visuals of the riots. They were taking away all the remnants of the cars that were set on blaze. But from yesterday late night, several arrests have taken place. Till last, we had an update of 116 arrests that have already taken place in Nuh itself. So clearly, the sense of uneasiness is still very much present. The law and order right now, if we talk about, is alert, and we have RAF on duty. There is extra additional forces that have also been brought in to ensure that if at all something spirals out of hand, there is well preparedness.
All right, Shreya, getting us that update from Nuh. I also want to bring in Amit Bharadwaj on this broadcast, who's joining us from Manesar. Amit, you've been tracking how there have been protests that have broken out since the violence, particularly from right-wing groups who've all objected to the riots, accusing the other side of triggering the violence. The question right now, however, is about one person. Is about cow vigilante Monu Manesar, someone who's a habitual offender and at this point remains absconding. Is there a concern that he is, in a sense, being shielded by the Haryana government? Because there have been multiple comments by the Haryana government, giving him the clean chit. We're not accusing him, we're not saying he's guilty, but at least find him and question him.
Absolutely right, Akshita. That is a big question that is hovering around that as to what was the role of Monu Manesar in this particular case. That needs to be investigated. And you have several comments coming from people who are in the power circle of Haryana, giving an indication, sort of a clean chit that he was not part of the procession which was taken out at Nuh. But on the other side, it remains a matter of fact that this person is an absconder. He is accused in a murder case of car vigilante. And, because of that, there's a lot of uneasiness on both sides as well. His role needs to be investigated, whether he had put several social media videos, social media posts, appealing people to gather at Nuh, that needs to be investigated as well. And, as Shreya was also mentioning about the uneasy calm that prevails right now in Nuh. Similar situation is in Manesar as well. In fact, the very temple where I'm standing, this is the spot where a Hindu Mahapanchayat of sorts was called after the kind of crackdown that is being carried out by the Haryana Police in connection with the Nuh violence. And the police convinced the organizers that because 144 has been imposed and action is being taken out right now, please vacate the area. Eventually, after several hours of conversation, the temple was vacated, but the uneasy calm remains here. Back to you, Akshata.
Very clearly. Amit and Shreya, thanks very much for joining us with those live updates from your respective locations on the situation currently. I want to run you through now what the FIR has said. We've read through the entire account that's been mentioned. There are two witness statements. The first one, and these are cops, by the way, the first statement comes in from a cop who was there on duty to provide security for the yatra. He says it started with Pakistan Zindabad slogans being raised outside the temple. We were passing by, the yatra was passing through the temple. 800 to 900 people, according to him, were chanting Pakistan Zindabad. This mob of around 700 to 800, that number keeps differing there if you look at the FIR, a mob of around 700 to 800 then attacked a police station. Rioters rammed into the wall of the police station, and according to him, they were armed to the teeth. He says that rioters had illegal arms with them and they fired without hesitating upon police officers. And let me highlight for you that these were cops in uniform. So they were undoubtedly being targeted there. The cop also goes on to talk about how these rioters vandalized private cars that were stationed at the police booth. They vandalized government vehicles as well, mostly setting it on fire. So that's one statement. Let's tell you about statement number 2, again from a cop, and you'll see that there's similarities here. Again, the cop says 700 to 800 people gathered and from above us started pelting stones at us. He then says that they were armed with illegal weapons which they used to target us. He says that devotees of Lord Shiv who were part of this yatra, which he was out to protect, he was there to guard that yatra, they were fired at by this mob of 700 to 800 people. And according to him, these devotees were in the temple and the mob started firing at them, which is when we received reports of several of these devotees being stuck in the temple. They were rescued later on. Now, this mob, according to the scope, 400 to 500 people gathered there and garroted this particular temple, and 40 pilgrims as a result were held hostage inside the temple. So he's given us details of that particular incident because he was there in that temple when it happened. Soon after, you had officials going in there and rescuing these 40 pilgrims. So from this FIR, it's clear as to exactly what happened. This is a yatra where, according to the Haryana government, they provided adequate security, but that was clearly missing, especially with all the hints that we've shown you here on India Today of the possibilities of this completely flaring out of control. Why didn't the administration do more to ensure this kind of a situation was avoided? And that's a question we'll continue to ask here on India Today. On the other side of a short break, we'll be getting you details, in fact, of the victims of these hate crimes. Now, the lives of several people were snuffed out by hate in the communal violence that gripped Delhi suburbs. We'll get you more on that in just a bit.
In politics, everyone has an opinion, but I have the data. Whose stock is rising? Whose graph is falling? Track India's political stock exchange. Unmatched, unmissable data analytics. The only show on News TV where numbers do the talking. India's most credible poll tracker. The Political Stock Exchange with Rahul Kamal, only on India Today.
Think that
part of the softness, weakness that you are seeing in some markets is also to do with peak digital being crossed that we saw post-COVID. Is it due to that, or is it due to what's happening in the broader economy in some of the markets that we just spoke about?
Yeah, very good question, Siddharth. So I think from my perspective, I would share some data points. One is globally, we are at about 1.1 billion 5G subscribers, which in my view has to get to 5 billion subscribers in the next 4 to 5 years. So clearly, multi-fold growth on 5G subscription has to happen. That will only happen when all our towers globally, at least 70 to 80% of them are connected on optical fiber. In India, for example, we are still at only 35% of our towers are backward on fiber, which clearly has to go to 70-80%. So I think that's the second part is there's still majority of the tier 1 countries, including US, Germany, of course, India, Australia. Many of these countries have only 30 to 40% of the homes connected on fiber. And so that's the second shift that will clearly happen. And third is clearly a massive explosion of data centers, not only in India, but globally, that we will continue to see, both in terms of large data centers as well as edge data centers. So we continue to be quite bullish in terms of next 5 to 7 years. And the last part is tier 1, governments putting in large investments to connect the unconnected, which has also got accelerated by COVID. So when we look at all of these, targets, we clearly are confident that next 5 to 7 years, there'll be strong demand for the optical fiber.
What about India? I just want you to expand on that, because on one hand, we are seeing broadband, wired broadband expand slowly. Wireless broadband is obviously the bulk of the market. But if you move away from the top tier cities, when it comes to rural India, it's still a bit patchy despite BharatNet. How would you describe the scenario going forward as far as India getting connected with good